All right, everyone. Every single day until it gets through their heads to the Bernie Sanders fans out there again, a little bit of a warning. Bernie Sanders getting written up again by the legacy media. Oh, his unwavering support for his ideals and his unwillingness to alter his views at all over the last 50 years endears Bernie Sanders to his fans. Look at the polling. Bernie Sanders has a very hardened fan base, but it is not a majority of Democrats. It's not even a majority of the far left. If you were to take people who are, further left and carve them up, dude, as many people support Elizabeth Warren, who admittedly, and I'll side with the Bernie bros until hell freezes over on this one, she's inauthentic, she's not actually progressive. But just as many people support her as support Bernie Sanders, don't you see that as a potential fucking problem? At least among that particular voting demographic? And how many Joe Biden fans do you think are actually going to jump on the Bernie bus just because of Trump derangement syndrome? A good 20-30% of the Democratic Party, I guarantee you, would rather stay home on election day than cast their vote for somebody who represents self-avowed socialism. Bernie Sanders' unwillingness to change the way in which he thinks is to his credit with a minority of the left. A minority of Democratic voters really, really like him. It's just the same as like a Tulsi Gabbard or an Andy Yang. When you look at polls of what proportion of supporters of an individual candidate are really gung-ho for them. Trump is really high up there. Of course, he's got half the nation supporting him. Sanders is up there. Yang and Gabbard, a lot of them are not so much. Like Buttigieg, for the fact that he's growing his coalition and I consider him viable, there's an inverse relationship I'm beginning to see. And it's really funny. There's an inverse relationship right now within the Democratic Party between viability in a general election, where you don't have just the far left to wine and dine, you have the center left, you have independent voters, you have people who lean Republican but aren't really sold on Trump. Those are the voters you have to target in general. There's a viability inversion between the general election, sort of the viability there, and how gung-ho for the candidate the Dems are. That is, at the top you've got Bernie Sanders. He's a self-proclaimed socialist. He is geriatric. He just had a heart attack. He is not renowned as a particularly good debater. I watched him debate live in the race versus Rich Tarrant many years ago. I did a write-up about it and won second place in some contest that they had for, I guess, English students or something at the time. Won a $100 Staples gift card, actually, which back then, as a poor boy from small-town America, was pretty sweet. Can't even remember what I bought. I remember I got a flash drive. I think it was like a 1 gigabyte flash drive. Back then, that was pretty sweet. Yeah, not that great. Then you have Yang. He's a number 2. Yang's not viable. He's essentially a communist on the issue of UBI. That is a soft form of redistributionism. It's almost a communal sort of thing. You're even talking about giving the rich $1,000 as though it's going to matter to them. It's a crazy cockamamie idea that nobody could get behind. If he were nominated, he'd get crushed. But his fans are really hardcore. Now, I know there's a sampling bias here. Sanders has tens of millions of fans. Yang has like 10,000 fans. This is a difference. Gabbard is on there. Now, Gabbard is a little bit, maybe kind of sort of a little bit more viable in her platform, but the thing is she has never gained traction. On guns, she would spook the far right. The turnout would be massive. You know the NRA would breathe down her neck. Just not particularly viable. At the bottom, you've got Biden. The man with the most name recognition is on the bottom. The man with the money, the name recognition, and the long political history, who's already been in the White House as VP, is on the bottom. And then there's Buttigieg, who is at least the most charismatic of these individuals. Warren is up higher than these individuals. Warren debates like a dish rag, dude. Bernie Sanders, to his credit, I give him credit for this, is unwavering. He has not changed really what he's been saying since the 1970s. The problem is that it's not the 1970s. The sort of politics of the left that flew in the Jimmy Carter era were completely scrapped and tossed aside in the Reagan era. The last paradigm was marked by Democrats trying to catch up to Reagan by adopting neoliberal policies because they realized that on fiscal issues they couldn't beat the new right. That petered out over time. The right has now changed form. It's actually the so-called conservatives. The Republican Party has taken the fore now twice in a row. The Trump populists are an adaptation of the Reagan era. There's less neoliberalism with regards to certain, like globalism. Globalism has been tempered now by their message. They've embraced soft nativism. They've gone back and they've revisited gun control and decided to make that more of a wedge issue and leave behind some of the social wedge issues like gay marriage that they clearly lost on. I think it is wise. Trump is leading the party in a better direction, a direction in which is more inclusive, a direction which is more actually fiscally conservative, and a direction in which we don't need to police the world. We should not be looked to prop up everybody in the fucking world. We are not fundamentally bad and wrong. We don't have anything to apologize for. It's the United States. We're just fine, and we're proud to be Americans. That's a winning strategy. Trump, his hardened approval level on a coalition that is considerably larger than the coalitions of any of the Dems, because they're still running primaries, is already heavily hardened. You've seen it. His support stubbornly won't drop below 43% no matter what happens. Impeachment proceedings, tax returns, sex scandal, war, nobody cares. His approval seems he's got a high floor. During the 2016 election, I'm going to warn the far left, please listen to me. It's not even out of any great animus. I'm not a fan of the far right either. On many things, I deviate from them also. But you're going to get massacred by Trump if you go into the election with Bernie Sanders as your candidate, or with any of these other charismatic ne'er-do-wells that have a very hardened but very small overall potential coalition. What's happened is this. Donald Trump is going to be at least in the mid-40s in the next election. The Democrats are in their primaries. They're busy pounding one another. You've got multiple candidates who are technically viable who have gone too far left to be able to shift back for a general election. You think that means, oh, well, Sanders is honest. Honesty only gets you so far within politics. Trump's very honest. He comes out all the time and says weird shit. He wears his heart on his sleeve in case somebody hasn't noticed, other than his business dealings in which he's never been convicted of any particular wrongdoing of any kind, other than that speculation which you only believe in because you've been propagandized to by billionaires in the corporate media. What else does he do? He comes out, he memes. He insults people very openly. He doesn't do it behind their back, a la Bush or an Obama. He says it flat out. I fucking hate you. You're a moron. He calls people a moron on Twitter constantly. He's very honest about things. He's always telling you what he intends to do, and sometimes he changes his mind because of A/B testing, which, by the way, is fan participation in a democratized sense that we haven't had with any prior administration in U.S. history. Sanders would get massacred. Sanders has gone far, far left. He was already far left. He's a self-proclaimed socialist. He's like, well, I want free healthcare. Okay, Bernie, that's an issue you could potentially win on, but not if you combine it with free everything else. Free education, free healthcare, debt forgiveness, preschool, more gun control. The problem is you've got too many platforms. But some of the Democrats have the problem where they don't have a platform. Their platform is we got to beat Trump. Oh, I want to beat Donald Trump. Some of them have a very sparse platform. Sanders is the opposite. His platform is flush. He's got lots of things he's running on, but you can't run on them all. You can't pay for them all. It's impossible, physically speaking. If he gets to the general, and I strongly doubt it, if he becomes the nominee, he's going to get crushed. No, you're not going to see a President Bernie Sanders. The optics. An 80-year-old man staggers up on stage and rambles about how everything should be free. Don't you think Trump is going to cut him to pieces? The fact that you, as a 20-something college kid or whatever, like Bernie Sanders because he's sort of the irascible old grandpa, fiery old revolutionary archetype, and you can cast him off as, well, he's kind of the face of a revolution, he's sort of like a Yoda. That's very cute. It's very meme-worthy, admittedly. It's much better than the optics of being Elizabeth Warren, trust me. But that doesn't win you an election, because Twitter's not the entire voting public. Man. Now, Bernie Sanders is unwilling to change. It's endeared him to his fans. Yes, but you gotta understand, he's running it second or maybe even a close third just in the Dem field. During the Dem primaries, who has higher turnout? Somebody who's center-left and like, well, I'm not really sure who I can back and I might vote for Trump. Or somebody who's far fucking left and has pink hair. The pink-haired person's more likely to vote. Younger voters vote less in both primaries and generals too. That helps skew it in the other direction, but by and large, you're going to get disproportionate left-wing turnout. If Sanders can't even come in second place or first place, and he's possibly behind in New Hampshire right now. If he can't even do New Hampshire, he might as well drop out after that. If Sanders doesn't win New Hampshire, he's already gone. It's sort of like if Biden doesn't at least come in second place in Iowa, Buttigieg out of nowhere, and Elizabeth Warren squeaks in there, he might as well just fucking drop out, because it's going to make him look weak. That's about all. Peace out.